March 18th, 2024, the day after the most glorious day of them all. Wasn't so glorious yesterday. We'll get into that in a minute. But welcome back, everybody. Lottie and Mac, the Bristle Boyz, Kamish, Angry Jay, busy tonight. Fantasy baseball takes up a lot of time, guys. He's been planning for this draft for a while. Speaking of planning, major sponsor, Joe Moriello Capital Securities, a life well planned. Skygazer Brewing and TNT Remodeling coming through recently. Waiting on Champ Tereso for his donation. But we're really picking up steam here, and there's no stopping us. I think we'll be over 100 followers in the next 2 months or so. No, honestly, on Spotify, it's awesome, and we're having such a good time. Sure. As promised, special baseball guest tonight, Major League umpire Ed Rapuano. 23-year career in the big leagues, and we cannot wait to get into this. But before we get into it, we got to go back. Ed, you grew up in New Haven. What sports were you involved in? When did you ever officiate as a youngster? And then big town. Like to hear what high school you went to and what that experience was like.
Yeah, no, in fact, not to get off the subject, but the high school I went to is in the Connecticut State Championship right now at Quinnipiac College, the East Haven Yellow Jackets. I really don't know who they're playing, but Lou Payne is a dear friend of mine. But anyway, I did go to East Haven High School. I did not umpire as a young man. I played ball up until senior in high school, played a year at Quinnipiac on the freshman team, wasn't cut out for schooling before I went into the military for a few years, and
wow.
But my dad was the biggest influence. He helped build the Annex Little League in New Haven as a young man. Baseball has really been the only sport that my two brothers and I have played since we were very, very young, and again, no officiating until he asked me what I wanted to do, if I thought maybe umpiring was an avenue to take, because I was working for Yale University at the time. President Bart Giamatti was there, and president of Yale. And he said, "Why don't you try umpiring?" I said, "What do you mean umpiring? I played all my life, played softball, baseball through high school and softball, and I didn't know what umpiring was all about." But he seemed to think something I had something there, and he was right.
Well, I hope that was thick skin what you had there. I mean, what an important job you guys do. And we watch a lot of games at the high school level, mainly basketball and baseball. But I can't be near some people because they think that job is easy, especially at that level. I'd like to see what these people say when we don't have them anymore. But thank you for all that time allowing these guys to play. Your dad, did a little reading about your dad, lifelong ump. Renowned in the area. What was his connection with the UConn umpire school? Was he involved in that with Coach Blaylock?
That I don't know much about. I know he went to UConn as a young man. It's why I'm such a big UConn fan. Basketball, that is. Wish they get their football team going in the right track, but. I don't know too much about that either. I know we got a good coach though, in the Mara kid. But Dad was beloved in New Haven in the baseball world, and he's the one who got me started, and he's the one who kicked me in the butt when I got down for the few years that I was in the minor leagues. But it was all him who was my influence.
That's awesome.
So Eddie, you just alluded a little bit to the minor league umpiring. Could you tell me what level you started at and how that came about?
Yeah, I went to umpire school in '85, New York Penn League, Florida State League, and then I spent a year each in the Southern League. Believe it or not, with the way I talk, and I know my English is not that great, kind of slangy, and Northeast. And I went to the Southern League, and Birmingham, Alabama, Huntsville, Columbus, Georgia, Memphis. So my accent didn't go too well down there. But and then from there, I spent a year in AAA, and then I worked my first big league game in 1990.
Wow.
So Ed, it's Jeff Dawn. How many years in by the time you started really umpiring before you got into the major league? Because I know I met you, I believe, it was in the New York Penn League, and then down in the Florida League with Richard. Like how many years was it total? Because I know my brother, who was, went with umpiring school and went all through all the steps for him. He said it was just going to take too long. He goes, I know my future isn't what I want it to be. He wanted to be an umpire, but he knew it was going to take him a lot longer than it took some other folks. So, what is the total process like from the time you decide you want to umpire? By the time you graduate umpiring school to the time you got to the major leagues.
Yeah, it was 5 years is the bottom line. But I worked a few big league games just past A ball in winter ball one year in West Palm Beach. Bart Giamatti and the National League was bringing Pam Postema down to West Palm Beach, and I happened to have been into camp. I believe it was Billy McCallum, myself, maybe Angel Hernandez, and somebody else. And we heard they were bringing Pam down, and to make a long story short, she works her first game and takes one off the collarbone and goes to the hospital, and that was the end of her time down there. And Ed Vargo had nothing else to do, so he came over to my field, took a look at me, and the following year gave me a half a dozen games in spring training and went to AA. And then he took me under his wing in '89, gave me my first big league spring training and my first big league opportunity.
Hi, this is John Pettit. I had a couple questions
Hey,
for
John.
you. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
The first question: how many of the umpires you were involved with on the beginning levels were big time players or played in college? And how hard is it to get to the major leagues compared to like a player? I got to think it's harder to be an umpire to make it in the majors than
Fewer jobs
as a player.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fewer jobs, but if you're asking me about players that I've known in the minor leagues, it was just a short time, but there were, the entire Atlanta Brave pitching staff. I had them right from A ball to AAA. Glavin and Smoltz and those guys. Just off the top of my head, I spent many years in the Atlanta Braves camp up there in West Palm Beach because we moved down to Florida in '86 in Deerfield Beach, so it was convenient for me to have spring training here, and they accommodated that. And but yeah, I mean, I've known a lot of them through the years. There's so many to mention. I can't think right now, but guys I still keep in touch with. I ran into Jeff Conine just the other day. His son's playing, and Jeff and I we came up together, and we actually, his first All-Star game, I believe it was his first, was my first in '95. Turned out to be the MVP there that year, matter of fact, in Arlington.
with a star-studded cast.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right. But I think that was one of the shortest All-Star games in quite some time, and I think the score was 2-1, 3-2, 3-1, something, and he hit, I guess, the winning home run.
I remember.
If he even maybe had one at bat and hit a home run, I think they had to give him the MVP because really there wasn't much action there. But that was a lot of fun. But I've made a lot of good friends in over the years as far as players. Pardon me. Bucky Dent and I, up until a few years back, he lived in the area, and we used to play golf together occasionally.
He had a pretty big hit in his career, right, Bucky?
Yeah, just a bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
As they would say, yeah. Great man, though. Great man.
Ed was still tooling around New Haven around that time.
I was.
78?
Yes, I was. 78, yeah.
Ed,
Yes.
we go to a big league game or watch it on TV. We see four guys working, right? Do you travel as a crew of four, or is there another guy? Do you rotate? Is there like
No, in the big leagues, you travel as a crew. You get your crew in April. And normally
it's four?
the crew chief. Yes, normally the crew chief would pick his crew, and the league would try to give him one or two of his picks, just for the to be a crew and to know each other. That's real important. When you step on the field, you got to know each other's movements and how the other works and how the other umpires and his movements around the field in rotations, and you get that working with another guy or two every year, and then you always get the young guys and who you have to groom when you get there, and it's just what they did to me and what I did to the guys that came up behind me.
Ed, I'm sure you've been a part of an umpire going on or not, or just getting sick or not being able to continue. You just roll with the three-man crew after that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be the case in the big leagues. Yeah, they have no one on the sidelines. You get hurt or something happens, and you just roll with a three-man.
A position, B position, right? Is that?
Mostly, if the plate umpire goes down, the second base umpire
You gotta run,
normally would come in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
Is
finish
it,
the
you
game.
ever been involved in a game or went down to 2?
Major league game?
Yeah.
No,
Minor league?
I have not. No. My first. Well, your dad would remember those days. We worked 2-man in the rookie ball in New York Penn League and in the Florida State League. When I got to the Southern League and naturally in AAA, it was 3 and 4 man. 3 and 4 umpire, I should say.
That's great.
Ed, going back to the minor leagues for a second, I was just curious, when you're umpiring in the minor leagues, and did you ever see a player that you were like, this guy is a can't-miss all-star, maybe a Hall of Famer in the future? Did your career parallel anybody else's minor league career where you can just say, wow, this kid, you knew right away he was going to make it big?
Yeah, I came like I mentioned those guys with the Braves. You can see the way they were the way they were brought up in Greenville and then on to Virginia, not Norfolk, but back then it was Richmond was their farm team, and you could just see the talent in these guys. Power. Jeff Bagwell comes to mind.
Connecticut.
Or some Brady. This will be fun. Brady Anderson struck me in rookie ball.
Right, for the Red Sox, right?
Yeah. For the Red Sox and the Orioles, and for the Orioles rather. And Larry Walker, we were together in Jamestown, New York, in the Penn League. Jeff, your dad remembers him, I'm sure. And they had some team, Marcus Grissom. Guys
no
like
kidding.
that. There was some teams. There were some players that you really wow. And you knew that would get to the top right away.
Now, when you guys are being trained and everything, like, I know how hard the game is at a high school level. I can't imagine how the talent, in the game moves a little faster at the big league level. Do you get trained to not get caught up in the talent and to just get it right and focus on the job? I feel bad putting you on the spot talking about great players because, you got to get it right, man. You got to, how does it work at first? You look at is it still you look at the bag and listen for the pop of the glove? How do you get that?
Yeah, pretty much. When you dedicate yourself to being an umpire, and I tell at our camps that we run every year, I tell these young candidates, young men and women that want to aspire to be umpires. You can't look at a player and say, wow, here comes Barry Bonds. Well, I'm going way back now, but okay, you look at a player and you say, whoever is coming up to bat. You can't do that. You got to look at it as if, okay, I got to focus on balls and strikes, outs and safe, fairs and fouls. Where am I supposed to be? What's coming up? You always got to hit the rule book. You always got to keep in the back of your mind, what may happen. How am I going to explain this? According to the rule book. And so when you get into this game, and we see it right away in a young candidate that comes to our camps or when we go visit the umpire school, you see it right away if they're dedicated and they're not I'm not saying starstruck, but if they're just in it for, just for the hell of it, just to be in part of Major League Baseball.
To say I'm in baseball, yeah.
You know professional baseball. You know right away who really wants it, who has it in their gut to want to be an umpire. The game doesn't overwhelm you. You control it,
Yeah, just get it right? I love it.
In that same vein,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
In that same vein, what are the 3 hardest calls to make as an umpire in the field?
Yeah, a tough call for me, and I guess that varies from umpire to umpire. I really don't know. One of the tough calls for me was working first base, a force play. And I can get the short hops okay, and I can get the real close bang bang plays, but it's those balls that bounce a foot in front of a foot in front of the first baseman, and then he sort of reaches back and gets that big hop, underneath his armpit. When they get that, always threw me off because there was three sounds: ball hitting the dirt, then a hesitation, and then the glove, then the foot in the bag. To me, that was a tough one.
Ed, obviously, your resume speaks for itself. You did the All-Star games. You alluded to the 1995 game. There were 17 future Hall of Famers in that game. You did the 2008 All-Star game, Division Series, ALCS, NLCS, World Series. Do you ever feel yourself nervous before those big games, or it's just the preparation and your knowledge kind of takes over?
Nervous before every game. Mm-hmm. And if any umpire tells you they're not telling you the truth. You always have that pit in your stomach, no matter what game you're working, whether it be opening day or whether it be the last game of the World Series. It's that feeling you get, and it sort of goes away. It's leading up to it, and it's in the locker room, especially postseason when you have, in New York, everyone in the locker room, and everyone's there asking you questions, and you got to go through a whole bunch of stuff. But when you step on that field, and after those first couple of pitches come in, you look out, you see your partners, and they're all fired up, they're ready to go. I think that's when maybe the butterflies start to dissipate a little bit, but not a whole heck of a lot. You're pretty nervous right through, but I think that's where you get your adrenaline, you get your second win, so per se, you get that excitement. And I always love that.
Well, that means you care about getting it right, and that's the job.
That's the bottom line. Yeah, the bottom line is to get it right.
Jeff's brother always got him right.
Yes, he did. We had some fun.
So you mentioned, Ed, how tough it is sometimes to make those bang bang calls at first base. So I gotta pick on you here now because I was watching some highlights of a fun Blue Jays Tigers game when Leland and you and Jim Leland went at it for a little while. And,
yes, we did.
It was in June of 2011. And I watched the video and it's hilarious. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is like to be in that moment? He's obviously one of the best managers who's ever stepped on the field. And I mean, you were smart enough. I think you kind of acknowledged right away. Maybe I didn't see it. You asked for help. The call was right at the end. But what is it like in those moments when somebody like that's going at you?
Well, I knew Jim for a long time. I worked many of his games, and respect the heck out of him. I mean, future Hall of Famer. I guess he's going into the Hall of Fame this coming season, and that was great news. But it was one of those calls where I lost focus, and you have that once in a while. I mean, you just lose focus. And the plate umpire, I think it was Alfonso Marquez. As soon as I made the call at first base, I kind of lost sight of the ball. It was the way the play happened. I just lost focus, and Alfonso came right up to me, started walking up to me as I think the manager of the Red Sox was. I can't remember his name. He was only there for a year or so. But Toronto.
It was Kevin Farrell, right?
There you
John
go.
Farrell,
there
John
you go.
Farrell.
Farrell came. Who was it? Whoever
Farrell,
it was, came out and he said, "Rap." He said, and now at this time, Alfonso. I said, "Hang on a second." I said, "Alfonso, what do you got?" He says, "Nah, he wasn't off the bag or on the bag, whatever the call I made was." And I says, "Okay, are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." I says, "Okay, we're gonna flip it." And I was the crew chief, and I said, "Okay, I'll take this one." He goes, "You sure?" "I got it." I said, "No, I got it. I'll take Jimmy." And Jimmy, was Jimmy, and it was, cool. You don't see that too much anymore because of replay, but that was actually a lot of fun. I mean, I don't want to say fun. It was embarrassing that I lost focus and I missed it being a veteran crew chief. But it happens to everybody. It just stuff happens, and you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you flip a coin and get something wrong, and here it comes, and you just have to deal with it, and you own it, And I told Jimmy, I messed up. You do what you have to do. If you could read my lips, I said, you do what you have to do, and he did what he had to do. Put on a little show, which was a little comical. It was, we've spoken many times since then, and not about that, but he's a good baseball man, and I'm happy he got elected to the Hall of Fame.
So was it fun when Josh Bard barreled into you, running onto the field when you overruled one of his home runs? I don't know if you remember that game.
Yeah, I do remember that, and wasn't that in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, he was a catcher for the Padres.
and I don't think it was my call. It was, I believe I was the home plate umpire and crew chief, and I believe I was trying to stop him, but I don't think I could have stopped him. He came running out, but if I'm not mistaken, I know you're bringing back some memories. If I'm not mistaken, I believe our crew got the call correct.
Absolutely, hit a ball and came back in.
Correct, and he wasn't too happy about it. But yeah, he knew once he made contact with me that he was going to take a shower, and he was fine about it, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's one I hadn't thought of in a while.
How hard is it, Ed, to kind of turn the page when you're in an argument with the guy, or just to keep umpiring fairly the rest of the way?
Because that's what the job entails, man. I mean, you got to be fair. You got to. There's no give backs, gimmies. I missed this one, I'm going to make up for that one. That's not in our blood. That's not in an umpire's blood. You just don't do that. You umpire as fair as possible. You're a judge out there. You don't play favorites. Something happens one day, and the next day it's over with. There's no grudges held, and that's I think our family of umpires dating back, how many years, 150 years ago or whatever. We take pride in that. There's never been an umpire caught cheating. We take pride in what we do, and we try to instill in our young umpires. I supervise our young umpires now, getting them ready for the big leagues, and we instill that in them. Integrity is such a big part of our family, our umpire family. That's what we preach. Integrity, hold your head up high, do the best you can. That's pretty much what it is.
Ed.
But you get over it quick. You get over stuff like that quick.
I had a question for you. On your first major league game, what were the nerves like before that one? Is it like a player making his debut?
Did you have the plate?
Yeah,
Where were you?
I believe it or not, I was in Pittsburgh, and I joined a crew, and it just so happened to be the umpire that I was taking the place of. It was his turn to work the plate that night.
Oh, man, let's go.
I'm sitting in the locker room, and my mom and dad are there. God rest their souls. And my brother's there. My friend and his wife is there. I had people from driving down from Connecticut, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm saying, I'm nervous as heck. And Eddie Vargo is there. That was his hometown. He'd love to bring guys their first game into Pittsburgh because he'd be able to be there.
Who were the starting pitchers?
I'm sorry.
Who were the starting pitchers?
The starting pitchers. He won the Cy Young that year. That was Doug Drabeck. And on the other side for Houston was a gentleman by the name of Deshays.
Jim Deshays.
Jim Deshays.
Do you have the scorecard still?
I believe. I have the lineup cards in my my trophy closet, in my trophy glass case there. Pardon me. But he came down the end of the locker, and Eddie said, "Hey, you want to work the plate tonight?" And I didn't even hesitate. I said, "Sure." If I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it over with. I was nervous enough. I may as well work the plate. And then, believe it or not, that was a Friday night, and the game went fine. Jim Leland was the manager, and sent congratulations in after the game. And Art Howe was the manager on the other side, did the same thing. It's a big deal when you get your first one. And the next night was a Saturday night, May the 12th. My daughter was born without me knowing it in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
That's why my wife couldn't be there. So I was not there for her birth. She came a little early, and she didn't tell me my daughter was coming.
As long as you got it right that night.
Yeah, it was a great night. It was a great night.
Ed, I just want to confirm you were part of the crew in the 2001 World Series, correct?
That is
For the
correct.
Yanks, Arizona. Obviously,
Correct,
there was a
right.
lot going on in our country at that time. I actually happened to be at Game 4 of that World Series in November 1st when Jeter hit the home run. Did you understand in the guys that you were working with the magnitude of that event and how our country needed it, and in particular New York City at that time? I can't imagine that it was just any other week or week and a half for you. That there was again, New York City needed that big time, and those two teams delivered an epic World Series.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. We knew the magnitude. Game 3, you saw us all out there, and when President Bush threw out
Right.
the first pitch, Secret Service were in our locker. President Bush came in our locker room, cordially sat with us for 30 or 40 minutes, naturally signing some baseballs and taking some photos with us. It was, yes. So a short answer to your question, we absolutely 100% felt the magnitude of that moment. Those 3 games in New York were like nothing I've ever experienced. And I was, as you said, you were at Game 4 behind the plate, was my first World Series plate job. And the ground shook when Tino hit the home run.
Yes,
Matter
sir.
of fact, I saw Tino last week, and he was down. Him and Georgie were playing a softball tournament for cancer right near my house there. So my son and I went and said hello and to him and Posada. And when Tino hit the home run, you felt the
my
energy
God.
to tie the game because we were, 1 out. And
Yeah.
when what's his name, right fielder O'Neill hit the little blooper, the base hit. I'm thinking, this is my first World Series. It's a pretty good game. I'm doing well. Nobody yelled at me. And we're going to get out of here. And then I got 2 strikes on Tino. And, I got a picture hanging up on my wall of him swinging and the ball going out and me just looking up. I must have said to myself, holy blank, what the heck? We got to go extra innings. But, yes, again, not to repeat myself, but we understood the magnitude, absolutely.
That's
Ed,
an awesome story.
You mentioned instant replay. So what is your take as an umpire and as obviously somebody who's supervised umpires? Like, is it good for the game, bad for the game? Like, what's your takes on that? And then also the automatic strike zone they're kind of tinkering with a little bit right now.
Yeah, I've never. The only instant replay I've been involved with in 2000 and I don't know, maybe 11 and 12 when the home runs, we had to go and look at the monitor. I don't know. The only thing I tell our young umpires in AAA that I train is not to keep that in your pocket. To go out there and umpire the way you did in A ball and rookie ball and A ball and AA. Try to get everything you can right. Because speaking to a lot of the big league guys who have worked under me and have worked with me, it's not a good feeling when you get overturned. So I remember when I worked going back at night watching SportsCenter and seeing that play I missed and maybe caused a run, and I got a pit in my stomach. But they get that pit in their stomach every time they overturn a call. But you'd be surprised. You guys would be surprised how good our guys are, and how many calls they get right compared to the ones overturned. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. They keep those in New York, and they do tell us once in a while that the percentage they get right is over almost 98%. 98.97.9. It's amazing how good that they are, these good young umpires. And they grew up in this world with technology. Our young guys, I didn't, and Rich when Jeff's dad went to school, there was no technology back then. There was just SportsCenter. We had one game a week on TV. That was Saturday, and then the Monday night, Sunday night baseball came on, and then Wednesday night, but I mean, look, every sport has just about every sport has some type of instant replay, and it's here to stay in baseball, and baseball does a fantastic job. If you're ever in New York, you ought to try to get a hold of somebody, inquire about going up and taking a tour. It's absolutely, it's magnificent. You know, it's like Houston, the Rockets, what do they call it? Space Command. What do they call that down in Houston? Space Center,
Space
whatever.
Center.
It's incredible. I mean, what baseball did, and you know, the technology they have, to me, is second to none. Of course, I'm not a real technological guy, but it is incredible. The way the angles they have, the people they have working there are outstanding, bringing us replay, and we use a lot of their technology for our training. I happen to be in charge of the positioning, and I do a positioning session every year for the umpires, just so they can get an idea. You know, maybe they'd like to try a different position somewhere, and replays, and they send me a bunch of plays up there. But I mean, it works. Fans are happy with it. Baseball is ecstatic with it. And they do a great job up there in Rockefeller Center. Justin Clem is the director, is the vice president of replay, and he does a fantastic job. I remember when Justin was an umpire in AAA, working with him.
Ed.
Yep.
I got to be honest, I never liked it the first time they put the K zone or that little rectangle up on the TV screen. I don't like it. Baseball is just one of those different games. The only team where the defense has the ball, you know, these cool things about baseball. And,
Sure.
you know, catchers are trained to steal strikes. They used to call it framing, whatever. I'm sure umpires don't like to hear me say steal strikes, but that's their job. And the guys like Greg Maddux, who can methodically stretch that same pitch to make it look like the same pitch, but be throwing it another millimeter outside. You know, I think he deserves the benefit of that strike zone kind of changing. And the strike zone's not the same for everybody. They throw the same rectangle up there for Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve. I mean, whatever happened to the old, you know, armpits to the knees, and what really is the major league strike zone? Like, what are the umpires trained to look at?
Well, the strike zone is from the hollow of the knee to underneath the armpit, but it's, you know, people don't realize it's not when Aaron Judge is standing there, is 6'8" frame, or it's when he lunges at the ball, when he what do they call it? You know, when
he strides to make contact.
Correct, and so that lowers it quite a bit. I don't know a lot of the technology with the ABS, and I know that we've had it in AAA for the past couple of years. And all we tell our umpires is to just focus on the pitch. I don't know if it'll get to the big leagues or when it's going to get to the big leagues. That's a little above my pay grade. I do know that all I can do is train our guys to focus on the pitch. Call the pitch in your head. If they have an earbud in their ear that says ball or strike every 3 days. The second 3 days. The first 3 days are challenge, or I'm sorry, the second whatever, either the first or the second 3 days in a 6-game series. They have 3 games challenge and 3 games ABS, and so they really have to focus on tracking the pitch. And you know, they don't have it in the lower minors, so from AA down. So we train our young umpires in AAA, just keep tracking the pitch, because we don't know if it's ever going to make it to the big leagues. I don't know, be honest with you. Is it going to be good for the game? Is it going to be bad for the game? I really couldn't tell you. I know, you know, the thing they put up on the screen. I watch a lot of broadcasts. They're even taking them down. I don't think it's that big a deal. I think if they do come to some kind of challenge system someday, I think it'll just be like this replay. They'll roll right into it, and baseball will, you know, keep up with the other sports and all their technology. But, you know, in my opinion, the essence, when I sit up there and watch a game, I was at a game today. Houston played Miami today, and I had a young umpire working the bases in a 4-umpire system. And Just watching him, and there's no replay, there's no strike zone. It's just old school baseball, just baseball, and that's when I could talk to him and talk to him about umpiring. And this carries over to him when he goes to the big leagues, even though they have replay, even though they may at some point have an ABS, but to train them and to umpire like you did when you got to umpire school. Balls and strikes, outs and safe, fairs and fouls, focus, concentrate. I tell them you're only out there for 2.5, 3 hours. Don't think about anything else. Just focus on what you have to do. Like you guys said before, you got to try to get everything right. No one gets everything right. I don't care who you are.
Ed, how immediate is the feedback to a major league umpire right now? And what do they get? Did they get DVDs at one point, or what's the feedback like from New York?
No, every game is you get a zone evaluator. It's a ZE system. You know your strike zone score according to that system. They get it every day.
That's awesome.
They get plays every day. I don't know. I do maybe 60. I've had 4 crews in the big leagues times 30, 40 plays a game that I would go through and grade. The ones they were overturned, I grade and let them know what I think of it. But they get evaluated every single day. They can't walk on the field without somebody knowing that they're there, watching them and evaluating them.
I would imagine you guys know that rule book forward, backward, and inside and out. Does every umpire carry the rule book in their pocket?
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Is the clicker still used?
Behind the plate, we totally 100% ask our young umpires. Yes, when they get to the big leagues. To be honest with you, I probably shouldn't say this, but I didn't use one. I just
amazing.
thought it kept me in the game.
You wear a cup? I'm not kidding.
What do you think?
Yes, I'm thinking yes. Preserve life. Yeah,
of course. I have three children.
In the field,
I've gotten hit there many times. I'm still okay.
In the field too?
No. I will say that if you're getting personal now. No, I didn't wear one on the field.
I want to know,
my son
man.
to wear one in the field.
You know what, Jeff? I'm going to tell your dad. You guys are getting a little too personal here.
My bad.
You can tell him all you want.
Ed, a quick question about after the first year, the level of success that you think the rule changes, like where a reliever has to pitch to 3 batters, or the pitch clock, or the larger bases. In general, how do you think that went over, and what was some of your feedback from some of the umpires that you still talk to?
I'll tell you, everything's working. The larger bases, stolen bases are up. And if you're sitting where I'm sitting in the press box watching a game, you really couldn't tell. I don't watch too much baseball, although I watched the game last night, and to be honest with you, I didn't pay much attention on the size of the bases. You really can't tell. The pitch clock, times are down, almost 30 minutes. 20, I think last year the average time in Major League Baseball was down almost about 28, 29 minutes. That's incredible.
Especially for Yanks Sox on a Sunday night.
I'm sorry?
Especially for the Yanks Sox on a Sunday night, which is about 8 hours.
You know what? Funny you should say that. I don't know what year it was, but we hold the record. We had 5 games in 4 days. I think the Yankees swept them, and they were pretty close in September, and each game went, I think, 5 hours. One game went over 5 hours on a Friday night. I can't remember the year, but you guys will probably come up with that stat. You young guys, you're good with that stuff. But we were there. We grinded it out for five games in 4 days. Friday, doubleheader Saturday, split, Sunday night game, which didn't start. I had the plate, which didn't start till 10 because of rain, and then Monday afternoon. But anyway,
I remember that series, absolutely.
Yeah. So the time clock works. Pitchers are, more fluent. They got a pace going that I could see, that I could watch. I think they don't mind it. And again, a lot of these rules changes come from the players and management. These are not rules umpires made up, but they come to us to enforce them. And our guys do a fantastic job with with enforcing our umpires and our management. Mike Hill, Rich Reeker, all the way down, Justin Clem, all the way down to us. Do a fantastic job monitoring the umpires, giving them all the information they need. The 3-batter minimum, I don't know too much about that. Don't know too much about pitchers and arms and how much they need or what have you. So that's more of a strategy thing for the managers. I guess it would have been I guess they had to adjust their strategy. You may want to ask, if you have a manager on someday, ask him about it. But we don't pay too much attention to that. We just monitor the rule that you have to pitch the 3 batters. And the throwing over only twice to first base without balking your third time. I think that weighs in heavily on pace of game, which is Mr. Manfred's pet peeve. Wants to get the games speeded up and more interesting for younger people, and so I think everything they've done has worked. It's
Ed, I mean, the passion you have to get it right, and to have all your guys, the young guys, get it right. You exude that passion. We can't have the game without you guys. People quickly blame the umpires no matter what happens. If it's not the umpire, it's the coach that screwed over the athlete. But, man, the integrity, that you take the integrity piece so importantly. I mean, this is just a pleasure to hear, Commissioner.
Ed, I had a question for you. You've been a part of a couple no-hitters. What was it like to do Kent Merker's no-hitter behind the plate, and when were you aware he had one going, and did that influence you at all?
Did you know at all?
Yeah. No, I kind of knew. Later in the game, I kind of knew. In fact, midway through the game, I think it was my first plate job that year. I was working with Frank, with Pulley, Eric Craig, and Greg Bonan, I think that was the crew, yeah. And midway through the game was my first one. I was a young umpire. What year was that?
94.
94, right? Opening series there, if I remember. We opened at San Francisco and then went to L.A. Yeah, and Frank came down to me halfway through the game, and he says, "Hey, your timing's a little." Of course, I had quick timing. I was, I'm not a real big guy, but I was like to be pretty fiery out there. And he said, "Slow down your timing a little." And then he came after the game, naturally, when we were, throwing beer at each other, and no hitters are pretty cool in the big leagues, and. He said, "Look, what I told you early in the game, forget it. Just keep working like you're working." So, but yeah, you kind of know later on, but then you kind of think about it between innings for a quick second, and then it's forgotten about. I did know the last 3 batters. You guys could probably tell me who they are. One of them was, I think, Piazza, Karros, and maybe Davis. I forget who the third guy was, but those were the last 3 outs. But Kent stuck it right up their butts, boy, with that off-speed stuff he had. Man, oh man, he was on that night, and they couldn't touch him. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So Rich made me say, he goes, "You have to ask him about Shane Victorino." So I have to ask you about Shane Victorino.
The Flying Hawaiian?
Didn't anybody go to the beach that day? You had to be watching that game? Shane's a good man. He just got a little overzealous in center field after yelling at me in the dugout for 10 minutes, calling a pitch on the big fella at first base. What was his name?
Brian Howard?
Brian Howard, yeah. Because he was a gentle giant. Good player, good man. And he's yelling at me from the dugout, yelled at me all the way out to the outfield in between innings, and I called a pitch on somebody, and he's still yelling and waving his arm, so I ejected him. What are you going to do?
From 250
but he,
feet away?
Talked to him after, talked to both him and Howard after, good guys, and that's part of the game. You know what I mean? Look, we're the hated, the hated person on the field by either team at some point. So, that's the job we chose. That's, as an umpire, you go to umpire school. That's what you're looking forward to. That's what you got to, strive to be. Thick skin, like you said early in the broadcast there.
Ed, I only hated one he happened to do every game I was ever at where the call didn't go our way. And, of course, I'm a biased, Yankee fan. But you ever work with Brian O'Nora?
Many times. I went to school with Brian O'Nora. Umpire school.
I won't hold it against
Sure.
you. I won't
That's
hold
all
it.
right. I know Brian. I know Brian very, very well. Brian's still working. God bless him.
What's Terry
He working
Tatum?
to our age. Terry Tatum, great man. One of my favorite people in the world. Not
Still
only
active?
taught me. I'm sorry.
Active?
No.
Retired?
Yeah. I mean, I spoke with him day before yesterday.
He's working games?
No.
That's what I meant. Okay. Angel?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Terry's long been retired in 2000, maybe 2000. I mean, it was right when we had the mass exodus there. Let's not get into that. But Terry's a great man. I learned so much, not only on the field, one of my mentors, but being professional. You know, used to wear sweatsuits traveling in the big leagues.
Let's go.
But then when I went to work with him, I went to work with him, and he said, kid, that's what he called, kid, you never know who you're going to be sitting on a plane next to. So dress like a gentleman and be a gentleman every time you travel. Represent the game. From that moment on, that was my very first year. Because in the minor leagues, you're traveling on planes in AAA or in cars. You don't really know that kind of thing, And but he set me straight early, and I, our young umpires in AAA, all this information I give them, it's nothing that I invented or I came up with. All these things that the Frank Pulleys, the Terry Taters, the Doug Harveys, the John Kibblers, the John McSherrys, all these things that they told me 45 years ago, whatever the heck, in the late 80s and early 90s when I was going up and down. All these things they told me, I repeat to these young umpires.
Pass the torch.
So I'm not, inventing the wheel here. It's easy. My job is easy. I just pass along information and give them my opinions on how they're doing.
Did anyone
positive or negative?
Did anyone pass the information on to Angel Hernandez, or is that a sore subject, or is he unduly roasted a little bit by people, or what's his deal?
I've known Angel for a long, long time. Our two children are our two oldest. His daughter and my son are just a day apart. We used to celebrate when we lived near each other, birthdays and holidays and so forth. Angel's a good man. That's about all I'll say about it. He's a passionate man. He's passionate about his work. I will say that, and I think that's about all I'll say.
Richie Garcia, what's he like?
Good man.
Did he get the home run call right?
He was the boss for a little. What's that?
Did he get the Jeter home run call right?
You know what? The technology? Yeah, I guess the kid grabbed it. I'll let you say if he got it right or wrong.
He did. He definitely got it right. That was out of there.
You saw the angles and the technology. You don't need me to say that. But Richie's a good man. Taught me quite a bit, actually. Richie was an American League umpire and a very good one. And he was our boss for a little while. I forget what years they were, but and I tell our young umpires, you could always take something from somebody. You could always take. I took things from Richie Garcia. I took things from Frank Pulley, not their mannerisms and how they looked or how they did things, but what they were saying and how they worked. You could take a lot of different things from a lot of different umpires, and because our young umpires work with many different crew chiefs. They could take a little something from each guy as far as the philosophy of umpiring, and I enjoyed that. I graduated high school. I wasn't really an intellect, but I'm a sponge. I love all this information, and I love giving the information.
I love it.
Eddie, we could do this forever, but I know we're pressed for time, and we do appreciate your time. But a couple more just real quick hits. Before we let you go, the most competitive pitcher that you ever umpired,
or sharpest, the most pleasure to have the game going into it.
David Cohn.
Love it.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. David Cohn. I mean, you'd love to get his games. In fact, I worked a game in Philadelphia, the last last day of the season. What year was that? Early '90s. I think he struck out about 17.
Of course, he did, Coney.
And I actually, and he was just wonderful to work. I mean, he had a great attitude. You know, look, we missed pitches back then. We didn't have any boxes or any technology, but and that's the thing. You go out there and you bust your ass, and 99.9% of them appreciated that. But I just love working his games, man. He'd have a good time out there. Hershiser was good, and like you said, was accurate, pinpoint, like all those Atlanta guys or Braves guys. Hershiser was good, but he was like a straightforward guy. He just liked to pitch and get off the mound. Where Coney would have a little fun with you. Have a little fun with it. Boom, boom, he was a lot of fun calling. But that game there, I actually broke a finger in like the third inning. I took one off the hand, and they wrapped it up real quick. Hey, you okay? You want us to X-ray it?
No.
Leave me alone. I'm out here. Cone's pitching. I ain't going nowhere. And so, but I don't know if that still is tied in a National League record or. He's had a lot of strikeouts that game.
He probably couldn't wait to
guy,
get to the restaurant afterward.
I don't know about that, but Jamie Moyer, remember Jamie Moyer?
I loved him, the lefty.
Yep.
He was another good guy. What a good guy, and a good guy to work.
Gentleman.
And funny story. We're in San Diego, and in between innings, he'd ask for another ball, and I'd be standing off to the side, and he'd fire the ball 100 miles an hour at the catcher, like near me. And, normally when they ask for another ball, they either flip it out, but his M.O. was to fire it to – and I didn't have the American League that much. I didn't know Jamie Moyer too much, but I got to know him after that day. I jumped out of my shoes just to give him a new baseball, and he's out there laughing. So – they're good times. There's good times you remember, and try to pass that on to our young umpires, and hopefully some of your fans that may be listening.
Ed, what batter had a command of the strike zone, even though it doesn't have the look
Bonds.
at it? You got Barry. Yeah, his walks are off the charts.
This kid could do anything with a bat.
Along those same
swung
lines,
that little bat and choked up. He could do anything. Hit it any different direction, hit it anywhere. It was amazing. He was an amazing hitter. And I will say, not Reggie Jack, but Orioles and Yankees and Orioles,
Baylor?
Mets, Dodgers, Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Don Baylor. I'm not that old. I mean, come on. Don Baylor was one of my favorite. He passed away, got arrested. So one of my favorite men in baseball was Don Baylor, but no, Bonds and Murray. I mean, these guys could hit. These guys knew the strike zone, knew where to hit it, knew how to hit it. Amazing, just amazing to watch them.
along those same lines, who are your favorite catchers to work with?
I'll tell you, a guy who used to give you a real good look was Benito Santiago.
On the one knee?
He gave you he'd get down. He'd almost lay down, so you got a great, Mike Piazza was a little tough. He was a big. Mike Scioscia was these guys were bigger guys. But they give you a look. I mean, as short as I am, I had my system. I did what I had to do to see the pitch.
Did you bump Bobby V on purpose?
No.
Two Connecticut guys?
Come on. That was quite the day, and it's funny because that day there, my was a Saturday afternoon, and I invited my children went to Catholic school here in Boca Raton, and that day there, I must have had 20 people, from teachers, nuns, friends of the kids. They were small, and they were all there that day, and that I did not feel too good that day, and my wife was a little embarrassed. I didn't bump him on purpose, and he knew that.
Eddie, how about
that was a good one?
How about greatest venue for like a big time game? Whether it didn't even have to be a playoff game, but a crowd, an intense crowd all the time, hanging on every pitch. What's the best venue in Major League Baseball?
Yankee Stadium.
That's what I want to hear.
Let's go.
That's what I want to hear.
Let's go.
Yeah, and when Jeter hit the home run, what was that? 10th inning, whatever
Yes.
inning it was.
Yep.
The ground shook when I was waiting for him to cross the plate. I could feel the ground shaking.
Did you
that
s-
was in the old
Right.
ballpark.
That's what I was going to ask you. You prefer the older ballpark to the newer one?
They're identical. Our locker rooms are in a different place. They're so much identical. The only this might sound funny or stupid, but the only thing the difference I seen was the smell. You smelled new concrete the first year we worked in the new ballpark. You just new concrete. You know, the field's the same, the dimensions are the same, everything's the same except you smell that new concrete.
Who were the most knowledgeable managers you ever came across?
Tony La Russa.
Yeah,
He's a
good.
lawyer
By
trade, right?
far. Yeah, Tony La Russa by far.
That's great. Most fiery
Yeah.
or possibly a little off?
I don't know about a little off. Tommy was very entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, I loved him. I love him.
His sound bites
Lou
are
was good.
amazing.
Lou was pretty quiet. Lou was pretty good. I enjoyed him. Bobby was all right. I mean, you know, we had our differences a couple of times, but he was okay.
Last couple questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time. So much of Major League Baseball is foreign-born. What's the percentage like for umpires? Are they mainly American-born, or do we have foreign-born umpires?
Oh no, we have very diverse in the big league, especially. In fact, we just hired he worked today, our first Dominican umpire, but we've got him from every walk of life. Dominican, Venezuela. In fact, a lot of them come to our camps, our camp in Vero Beach in our school. We have Puerto Rican umpire. Roberto Ortiz is the first Puerto Rican umpire. The Ramon de Jesus, like I said, is Dominican. We got a lot of Venezuelans. The Torres. I mean, these kids down there, man, they eat, sleep, and drink baseball, and it's a plethora of talent, especially umpire talent. Not only, as you know, baseball talent, player talent, but umpire talent is just amazing. The Carlos Torres, we call him the John Wayne because he's just straightforward, straight shooting, gets everything right, does his job, you know, and we call him the John Wayne of umpire. We call him John Wayne.
That's funny.
Very, very diverse. Yeah, very diverse.
Have you ever appreciated a fan heckle, or even have you had a fan tossed because they don't get it?
No, you know, I never did, but I do remember, you know, how in Yankee Stadium when they'd go Derek Jeter when they start the game and they'd give a wave to the whatever it is, the roll call with the right field bleachers there. Well, they did it to me one time. And
Get out of here!
I'm standing next to Jeter, and he gives me a shove. He goes, "Take your hat off, will you?"
No way,
I'm not
man.
taking my hat off. Yeah. So I went to my brim, and I just went like this, and they went to the next guy.
How awesome is that, man? What a great way to end
He
it.
must have set it up, but what a good guy. What
Derek?
a gentleman.
Y-
Gentleman.
Tell me why. I mean, I love him.
Just a gentleman. I mean, he respected the game.
Yeah.
He respected the game, and he was a leader. He was a leader on his team. His team looked up to him. Yep.
That's great. What a way to end it. Ed,
Yep.
yes. This was tremendous. Thank you so much for your
Good.
time.
I'm glad. I hope I didn't take up too much of your airspace.
Could do it all night, man. Like
That's
talking
all right.
baseball, and we can't have it without you guys.
Well, Jeff, Rich did say there'd be something in the mail for me, maybe a $500 gift card to the steak at Ruth Chris or something. Is that what he said?
I thought Rich
I'm
said he
only
was just
kidding.
going to
We
take
already
you. Rich was
sent
going
it.
to take you out. He said, and spend whatever you want.
Nice.
That's what you got to do. You got to bear a night with him, though.
I hope it was an eyeglass top.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you guys listening, and the questions were great, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank
you
you.
so
Go
much, Ed.
Yanks.
Appreciate
Checks in the
it.
mail. Thank you.
And go UConn.
Yes.
Yes.
Big
One more
Monkeys.
year, back
Yeah.
to back.
Let's go. Let's do
Back
it.
to back. All right,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Ed.
Go Huskies.
Night.
See you. Yesterday, St. Patrick's Day wrapped up the high school season in Connecticut with 5 games at Mohegan Sun. It's a terrible setup. You can't have a game starting at 8:45 at night on a Sunday night, and they wait to have the highest boys game and the highest division girls game for the 2 last Sunday night games, just to see if they could get somebody in there. But like, that's a tough time to watch high school sports after being there all weekend. I don't know who it's shame on, but they got to figure something else out. And there were a few matchups this weekend where I'm like, this game should be at Central Connecticut. There's one dogfight in particular I want to talk about on the boys' side, and that gym would have been absolutely on fire in there. That would have been loud, and everyone would have loved it. But real quick, let's talk on the girls' side. Starting at the highest division, 6:15 on a Sunday night, Sacred Heart Academy loses to Hamden. What a horrible story for those poor Sacred Heart kids, with kids from all over that area. And right in town, Hamden takes care of them. Hamden takes care of them. And the rich kids got to go home, probably blaming the refs or whatever. But, like, Hamden took care of them. And that is a heck of a story, because Sacred Heart Academy is one of those teams who started down in, like, Class M or Double, whatever they called it. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, they're in the finals in Double L. And it looks like, well, first of all, they should have never been in the lower divisions. But, people know better than us. And they lose.
They think you're going to roll in that division, and you meet your crosstown nemesis.
Yeah, and then they'll see him at Chick-fil-A, and whose fault will it be? The coach, the refs, whatever. Hamden
was number 1 all year.
Without it. Oh, they were?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the writing's on the wall with that Sacred Heart Academy. That we need an investigation. That's Capital Prep 2.0. In the L division, what a shame again. Those poor Holy Cross kids got to drive all the way back to Waterbury after getting smacked by maybe the best coach in a tournament, the Simsbury girls coach. The name escapes me. But the rich kids got to go home again. The Middlebury kids got to drive all the way back to Waterbury, and to nothing. No parties or nothing like that. No people at the school receiving them or whatever. No good job. They lost, and I feel bad for the coach. What a great guy. What are you laughing at? All right. Double M, Northwest Catholic in Class S last year. They roll in Class Double M. So they move up. This is the Sacred Heart Academy model. They go up 2 classes and continue to roll. Number 1, they're good, and good for them. I kind of like their team. They got good young kids, well coached. This time the rich kids get to win one. But they beat a Sheehan group that's pretty good. And, that's a good for high school basketball game. Both teams probably deserve to be at that level, right? Sheehan and Northwest Catholic. M.
Can't wait to hear what you're going to say about the St. Paul girls. Jeez.
I don't call them the St. Paul girls. I call them the Olivia Don and Audrey Tice show. Mix in a little Zola Cujo. And did she didn't play Boys and Girls Club, though, right? Did she not? Kelly?
No, she's from Kensington.
Yeah, she's a tournament MVP, right, or whatever it was. Yeah. And then what about the girl who had the Stevenson? Was she Boys and Girls Club?
Yes.
You had it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great story. We got a bunch of Boys and Girls Club on that team. I don't fault a team like that, because 4 of those guys we just talked about from Bristol. You know what I mean? It's not like some of these other places. So, like, whatever, they win one, and we loved it. We were all there for that cause, and they won it, and they deserved it. By the way, the Wyndham Whippets, being small but mighty.
They had a stud player.
Number 5 was tough.
Best player on the floor. She was fantastic.
Lastly, in Class S, Summers defeats Coach Brian Moslak's team on Thomason's home court, and likely marked the end of a hell of a run. And I think Mosey did a miraculous job to get to that game, because with 8 minutes to go, the gas was on negative. And how they got there, I don't know, but they had a shot. They're down 12. Next thing you know, it's tied. And credit to Summers. They overcame the idiocy of their coaches' outfits, and they played a hell of a fourth quarter.
Yeah, Pitbull over there.
Yeah, soft.
Jeez.
Yeah, Pitbull.
Wow.
The only thing he was
welcome
missing
to
was
Miami.
Sunglasses.
Buddy, welcome to Miami.
Yeah.
That was,
Mosey did a great for Mosey to get to that final, to beat East Catholic in the semis was stunning. If you look at both teams, the athleticism and the strength and the power of the East Catholic team versus the little engine that could from Thomaston. He did an impressive job. We're all very, very proud of him and all those girls.
And such a short bench and uses timeouts well for rest, rather than strategy.
Yeah, he's got to think about things that most coaches don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Very proud of
Yeah.
Thompson.
How much air and water can I get you in 60 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And can we spill water on the floor to grab an extra 30 here? Kenny Smith going to be reached for comment. We're going to jump back in the girls' situation for just 1 point, but let's talk about Connecticut high school boys basketball. Wow. We're going to go from the bottom to the top on this one. We don't call them S, M, double M, and all those letters. We call it Division 5. Division 5, I think the boys' committee nailed it. You've got two towns, the town of Coventry and Old Lyme. They meet in the finals. And the two teams they beat were a couple of miracle stories because they're middle-of-the-pack teams in their conference, Thomaston and Litchfield. This was a true old-school Class S story. And the story ends with Old Lyme taking down the Patriots with a 21-year-old first-year coach. Amazing.
Against a female coach, the only one in the
and
state, right?
she's amazing,
Amazing
too.
job.
And jacked.
I saw in the sim- Oh, yeah.
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 Lois Hasty, is that her name? And I watched her in the semi. She has the utmost attention to those kids.
Intense.
Yeah. And
Right on top of those kids. And they had a really good team, too.
cagey, too. Like against Thomason in the semi, I thought she should have used a timeout or two. She's like, no, let's go. And they scored every one of them times. They answered the bell. So you talk about a cagey veteran. I don't know where she coached before, but, I mean, somebody missed the boat on hiring her if she didn't.
It's good for the sport, too. I mean,
It's great. And then the 21-year-old. Who has the onions to hire a 21-year-old?
That's what I was going to say. He was a stud player for Old Lyme 3 years ago.
You remember him?
No, but somebody told me that he was a all conference, all state, whatever the case may be, one of the better players they've had. And to your point, an athletic director hires him 3 years after his high school graduation. That's forward thinking, outside the box, outside the comfort zone. I give that AD and whatever administration was involved a lot of credit on that hire.
he should retire now, I think. 21 win the state championship.
You know what?
But that's a fun game. For Class S, it's a very fun game. Yes.
That was great. And it had a crowd still in the middle of a Sunday. And I was wishing Angry Jay was here for this because, Angry Jay was a heck of a high school coach. We can say it now that he's not here. I mean, he was a heck of a high school coach. And the advice we gave him to him too late, and that's not the reason he tried it, but tried to jump to the college game. We always tried to push him because we know how talented he was.
Yeah.
This kid, I mean, high school sports to me is the best, but if he wants to do something with it, what a great first step. What a great first step. This says like a Jim Calhoun kind of thing. Did Calhoun coach at Old Lyme?
I think he did definitely coach at Old Lyme, yes.
It was either Old Lyme or Old Saybrook.
No, it was Old Lyme.
Is that amazing? I mean, come on, man. Let's go. Jimmy, give him a job.
I think he did 1 year there.
Jim, get him a job. I mean, come on. Got Eric Hayward a job. You can't get this guy a job? All right.
All right, next division.
Yeah, I didn't mean to use that.
It's a bad example, but I hope this kid does better.
Kevin,
Eric.
can we substitute somebody else? All right.
Can we substitute John Gwynn for that?
Maybe the best game of the weekend. Energy in the arena. If it was only the lower bowl, the place would have been, nuts. If this game was at CCSU, John, how many have we witnessed?
A million.
The Cheney Tech crowd and the innovation crowd, and you think a tech school and a magnet charter, whatever they are, whatever, there'll be 4 kids in the student section. Didn't matter who was in the student section. Their parents made up for it, man. These whole schools were there. And truth be told, I'm rooting for the tech school for Connecticut high school basketball. That conference needs a champion. Right. Number 3 for them, stud. But the Innovation Ravens had everything. They had every piece. Mike, what'd you think about that game?
Well, I had seen him live a few times.
That's right.
Scouting him. And I saw him against Cromwell. I saw him against Weaver twice. And it's one of the best high school teams I've seen this year because they have the consummate point guard that's pass first.
Fast.
They got a shooter that's, if he gets his feet set, it's out of his hand and it's going down.
Is that number 5?
Number 5.
That's his brother, 2
right,
and 5
exactly.
are brothers.
And then number 23 is just a slasher. He took over in the fourth quarter, if you remember.
He's kind of like 3 from Cheney Tech, but a lighter version.
Yeah. And then the big lefty that's like 6'5", that just gets rebounds, finishes with his right hand.
He's an animal.
Around the rim. They have like a perfect high school team. And then the fifth guy, they just rotate 3 guys into that fifth spot.
I think the coach did a hell of a job too.
He did do they just those teams I like watching them because they just
I don't know about the sweater, but
now they have athletes. Don't get me wrong, but they keep the game really, really simple, and they share the game. They share the ball. That was probably, and I saw half the games live with Crocker. That was probably the most fun game I saw because Cheney jumped out 10-0, and there was no panic from innovation. They chipped away, tied at halftime, and then second half, I think the better team won. But credit to those crowds, as you said, they were intense but respectful. It was a great high school game, a great venue.
imagine it at Central. Wild.
I don't want to jump anything. Obviously, the experience at Mohegan Sun for parents, especially before and after games, there's a lot of things to do. But the game experience at Central Connecticut, you just can't beat it. 3,000 seat capacity, lower ceiling. It's hot in there.
Yeah.
Everybody's on top of each other. The PA. Again, we're all biased. Bobby Mack grew up going. Johnny, you grew up going. I definitely grew up going. I missed that intimacy of the gym.
There's no doubt about it, Innovation. You are number one. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you walk into the gym and wonder if you're going to get a seat,
Yeah.
It's not like that now.
Yeah.
It's like I can sit in the
Yeah,
upper bowl.
you're looking around like a glorified high school gym being like, where can I sit here?
And every scoreboard going on. I mean, I like Mohegan, but Central was so intimate and so much fun that I wish they'd bring it back.
You know what? I think they got to get away from. I don't know if they ever will. They're making money and all that. And
Yep. Hotel, food, drink, everything else.
I mean,
Casino.
I heard that the fan bus for the Division I boys game last night, the one that went back to West Haven, I heard it got home at 1:30. Or excuse me, the chaperone of the fan bus got home at 1:30. Come on. If you're going to do that, then do it Friday, Saturday. And if your teams are involved, man, we're taking a day. We're taking a day off, and whatever. What, are you going to go one more day in June? I mean, this is exciting stuff for kids. Sunday night? Come on, man. Division III was a heartbreaker. Our own coach who we're going to have on here someday, soon, Ryan Rapuano. Isaiah Roscoe, assistant. They face a Bunnell squad that I saw a few years back. That they're another factory. They just keep. Remember Mike Wilson's first year down in Mohegan?
Yep.
They ran into some athletes from Bunnell, and by the way, city kind of school, but classy, hard players, well coached, and they're killing Mills at halftime. And it looks like they're going to run away. A lot of the fans I talk to, former coaches, stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, he got to go zone. He's got to go zone." He comes out and triangle and two is their best 2 players. Number 2 for Bunnell, I forgot his name, but I think he only had a bucket in the second half. And Mills ties it. And
Took the lead by 1.
They did take the lead by 1. And then they had a 3 or 2 to say,
We're here.
watch out. And I think they ended up losing by 5. Crushing defeat for the area. But full transparency, I've never wanted a Mills team to win a single game in any sport, but seeing those basketball kids the last few years, I want them to win every time they're out there, unless it's against the Bristle schools. And credit to Coach Rapuano, credit to Coach Isaiah, credit to the school for giving them a chance, and most of all, credit to how hard those kids work.
And they went from the Berkshire League to the CCC, and you're saying, what are they doing?
Everyone was mocking them.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Oh, where do they go? Yeah.
He is one of the best coaches around. I'm not afraid to say it. Again, they do simple things really, really well. Their roles are defined. When they're open, they shoot it. When they're tightly contested, they drive it. The second defender comes, they make the right play. It's one of the most fun teams, fun programs for me to watch. Somebody that really loves that kind of basketball. So congrats to Coach Rapp.
And Coach Isaiah, who
Yep.
could coach anywhere he wants, really, in high school, but continues to stay there as as there's a good thing happening. We go to Division II. the more things change, the more they stay the same. The Windsor Warriors.
It's that guy.
The Windsor Warriors, I think they win by what? Is it 2? Was it just 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah, over West Haven. And what is it with Coach Smith? You can say he gets the players.
He's an
but
old school coach, tough on his kids, and gets the best out of them.
what's better than that?
Yeah,
Are they the new Harding?
I think they are. Yeah, I mean, those maroon sweatpants. He just goes at it, and
If you get off his cell phone, maybe he'd arrange the guys in a W for the national anthem, like Harding used to be in that H. But
Nice run by West Haven, though. They were a 12 seed.
were they?
Yeah. Nobody was picking them to go that far.
Man, they're a 3 from beating Windsor.
Yeah.
Listen,
and they're definitely the second team in that town too.
listen, the Windsor Warriors. Are you kidding me? This guy.
He's got 10 guys that can play, and he shuttles them in and out. If you're not playing well, next guy up. That's what he does.
And he calls you out on defense if you mess up, too. Oh, my God.
I think he's an old corrections officer, two of them, right?
I think he still is one. Jeez, I mean, he don't take anything, man.
No, he's tough.
Old screw. Let's go, dude. All right, so we go to the
big
nightcap last night. I didn't stay for it. I just couldn't. Both my sons are there, and the stud for West Haven had like 6 points. He had 2 at halftime. They both said he was getting locked up by St. Bernard, and the St. Bernard gave it to him. They gave it to him as best they could. But, this is an old school, 2 Catholic schools in the best game of the weekend matchup. Should have been a Central. And let's call the Holy War 265 maybe. And it didn't disappoint. Only thing is, and Lottie, you said this, the low scores.
Yeah, I want Don Fowler to chime in because we were talking about it too. But people don't realize, like St. Bernard's, they just started getting good again. Because in the 80s, they were legit. It was Harold Presley in the early 80s, late 80s, they were real good. And then for about a 25 to 30-year period, they were nowhere to be found. So whatever's going on in St. Bernard's, congratulations. They've had a 3, 4, 5-year run right now that's off the charts, and they're going to get one very, very soon. But Don Father, we were talking about this, the low scores in girls and boys. I have a few theories, but what do you think about the just those? I mean, some of these games are like 45-40. Some teams aren't getting to 40 in state championship games.
Look at the 2 best teams in the state for girls. They were both in the 40s,
Yeah, it was like
right?
40, 52, 46, something like that, yeah.
I think the beginning of the game, and Mac coached there a handful of times, I think it's the depth perception. They don't get to practice there before. I think that would make a difference if they did.
Absolutely.
So they get to warm up for 10 minutes, and then they got to play a game. I think seeing everything, like as my daughter was, everything was coming from different angles. Like she's like, we were a little nervous for the first couple minutes.
Sure.
She said she was, because everything is a different angle. She's looking up and the ball's down. She goes, everything is just, there's more room, passes in the air. They were harder to follow and track them for a little while in the first half. She said, we just didn't really get our stride. Like, defensively, there's no excuse, but like she goes shooting wise and like long passes were just harder to calibrate, and that's why she's like, we didn't really fast break a lot in the first half.
It's almost like you need 5 quarters, one to settle in and one
Yeah.
4 more to play.
Yeah, because the first quarter in a lot of these games, you guys are right, they're very, very choppy. Obviously, the stress, the bigger gym, the depth perception, to your point, especially in the girls' game, there's such a long layoff between the semis and the finals, and they're probably watching so much film and tape, and they take away all your tendencies, and that can't help either.
8 days off.
8 days off, and then the boys are getting, some boys' teams are getting 2 days off.
I also
I mean-
wonder how many teams are staying over the night before.
Some do, some don't.
Some do,
Yeah.
some don't. But
Most
what
don't.
if most don't? But what
Yeah,
effect does
sure.
that have with the bus ride or staying over and the nerves?
Well, Jeff can talk to it. Like St. Paul girls, they did not stay over, correct?
Correct.
They had a 10 o'clock game. So
Bus
what
left
was
at-
that morning
Bus
like?
left at 6:30 Saturday
Right.
Bus
morning.
left
So-
at 6:30 on
so
a
you're
Saturday
getting up
morning.
5:30, right, and trying to
Yeah.
prepare for. I mean, that's
And you probably didn't sleep a lot anyway.
Right.
And then you're on a bus at 6:30.
that's gonna be rough. And then at the same time, if you're staying there, you're not in your own bed.
Right.
You're waking up. You're trying to, find yourself, and I don't know. It's kind of one of
So
those.
I guess what we're saying is we got to get it back at Central Connecticut. Again, I understand the run to the sun, all that other stuff. I just think the basketball product would be better at Central Connecticut or another gym.
100%, I agree.
You want to have it at University of Hartford,
Quinnipiac.
or Quinnipiac, even. But man, when there's a 10,000 seat arena and there's 1,500 people there, it's just a lot of seats and a lot of stuff to look at that's empty, right?
Well, according to the Oak, UConn will practice at the Civic Center a couple days before a game there,
Right.
to be ready to roll. And I know some teams that have gone down to that area and stayed overnight and tried to grab like a high school or middle school gym to just go shoot around. Not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not
So
the same
what did
thing
you
at all.
what did you do when you were there? You guys stayed over every night, right?
Which time, John?
Well, one of the 5 times you were there.
6.
6 times.
Okay.
No, honestly, though.
5.
It's 6. There's 5 in a row and one more.
But honestly, you stayed overnight.
Every time.
Every
time. At first, it was like the generosity of some Rotary members in town, and then the district was like, they don't want us to be getting handouts, so the district planned that if boys or girls were ever playing that first or second game, then they would accommodate us. And we got a small roster anyway, so they grabbed us 5 or 6 rooms, and that's it. But every time we did that, and like you got to think, you're playing that 10 o'clock game, which the Lady Falcons had to do. I mean, you got a bagel and a yogurt and orange juice, and you're on a bus, and they left Bristol. I mean, that's
They're
a
walking
tough
in
ride.
They're walking in the arena at like 8:05. We were getting pictures and videos of the girls walking in like in the tunnel. Like,
that's a
from
tough
outside.
ride. And one of the years, we always stayed there, but one of the years we got in there and they wouldn't let anybody on the court because they hadn't figured out that the 3-point line was different. They were putting legit like gym class
Like
tape
floor
down.
tape, yeah.
And it wasn't exactly
Getting ready for
perfect,
pickleball.
dude. It looked like you doing the lines at Plowboy
Yeah, I think.
Stadium, dude.
Yeah.
Junk with Eddie Rapp wouldn't have that, and
Hey,
I liked
you
not
struck
rushing.
first, by the way.
I liked not rushing down there. Like we didn't care what time it was. We're going to be there plenty early because we're 10 minutes
you
away.
acclimate to the gym in 10 minutes?
First time we went on the Friday night back when they had Friday night games, and no, it's a big place. It's a big space. No, there's no acclimating to that space. Like even where the scoreboards are, you know the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
They're like up there,
Yeah.
and now they got a TV screen on them. You can barely see where the numbers are. So they're. I don't know if you noticed in the corners, they have the simple ones, just have time and score. But they also had that digital thing that goes around, and
Right.
occasionally they take it off.
Right.
So where are these players looking? Seriously.
I got to think if I'm shooting a free throw, I'm looking up at the scoreboard first and like saying, what's the score? How many fouls I got? How many points do I
Remember
got?
Ronnie Cycli back in the day when they had his picture? That's what it reminds me of. Now your picture's up there when you're shooting it.
Your picture and your stat lines on those boards too.
Oh, the
you,
numbers,
you know,
the
you
fouls.
know if
Pictures
you're
up there, I'm going 0 for 2 from the
Yeah.
line. I tell you that much.
Me too. If your picture's up there.
I'm going 0 for the night if your picture's up there.
No, but here's the thing. Like it's a tough grind for both teams, but they both have to deal with it.
Right.
And like Lottie said, from a family and school standpoint, there's a buzz down there.
Absolutely. You're walking in there, it's fun.
But I mean, I don't know
No
if it
secondhand
replaces.
smoke.
Well, not anymore. It's way better in there after COVID. I mean, you could hardly tell. Like
You get run over by a scooter
kinda
like
the
10 times on
Polish
the way in
club.
there.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah. You
did.
got to dodge
Yeah.
your scooters. Yeah. But Central was something, and they tried UConn for the big ones. Didn't work.
just for a few
Yeah,
years,
I
right?
remember I covered
Yeah.
Maloney there.
You did?
Yeah, Maloney Lyman Hall.
Is that when they had the bunch kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch and,
And-
Rashomon Vereen and
Yeah. Do you remember Trinity Catholic Crosby in there?
Oh yeah,
But again, there's
Vaz.
it's too big for like an environment.
Julio played there.
If that's at Central, that's wild. But anyway, they all got.
We got to just upgrade Elmer's. Is the bottom line. We got to make Elmer's a destination.
We can do it. We need a second
Elmer's
floor.
was
They
the
don't-
destination when UConn was
They
playing
don't
in the
open until
tournament.
7 on
Yeah,
Saturdays. I don't understand it.
On St. Patrick's Day, probably going to get open probably cakes and eggs about 9 o'clock.
I like that.
All right.
Sounds
So one last thing about this tournament, and we're going to move on to college hoops. I think the boys' side, and people complain about it. There's 5 schools that are going to complain about it. No matter what happens. I think they figured, like Nonawag might, or whoever it was in S or whatever they call it, 5 might have complained at Nonawag. Said, well, they lost. I mean, they lost to a team that lost in the finals. I think the boys team committee did a great job. They had a bunch of Catholic powerhouses. They all had to play each other, and 2 of them are left. After that, you got Windsor over a public. You got Lewis Mills falling to a public. You got Innovation Cheney. You got to throw us one more game, but it's just one Magnet and one Tech. Techs usually aren't in there. And then you get 2 small towns. On the girls' side, 4 of the 5 divisions, you still got a Catholic school in the final. I think they got to do something there. I think they got to follow the boys' model. And, like your St. Paul girls, Don Father, I don't think it would affect them. They're not big enough on that level. But Northwest Catholic, Holy Cross, I thought Holy Cross would walk in this game until I saw Simsbury one time. And, boy, I feel bad for them and their coach.
I picked Simsbury, not just because I wanted them. I just think they're a better team.
I know, but if you didn't know anything about it and you just were looking at scores all year, you think Holy Cross is going to go because Republican American does what they do and coach doesn't shake anybody's hands and all that cool stuff. But anyway, 4 out of 5. And what if they won the 4 out of 5? Then people are up in arms. Luckily, the Catholic schools came through. Or, the public schools came through.
Except for one.
That's how we do it.
Or except for Northwest and St. Paul.
Yeah. You know what I mean? They kept it okay, manageable. Enough's enough. It's March. The selection show was on. It was on with 2.5 games left to go at Mohegan Sun yesterday. Because they got, 1:30 in the morning? Anyway, the feeling in the room, UConn got screwed. Boys, what do you think?
I definitely think they did. People are saying, they don't have to leave the Northeast until they get to the Final Four. Yeah, that might be true, but look who's in their region. Auburn won the SEC tournament. Illinois won the Big Ten tournament. Iowa State won the Big 12 tournament. And those 3 teams are in UConn's bracket. There's not another team, especially a number 1 seed, that has to go through that gauntlet, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
All Elite 8 teams, for sure. When you look at on paper, you're looking right away.
Yeah, if they're in different brackets, those teams can all be legitimately in the Elite 8, yes.
Agree 100%.
So who's the best number 2 seed if you're looking at the brackets? I think it's Tennessee or Marquette, personally, but I think I'm leaning Tennessee. But
I have Tennessee going to Final Four
as well.
Who?
Arizona and Tennessee are.
I would say Arizona, just me. Not that I'm rooting for them. Marquette, I would feel a lot better if they were a little bigger on that front line.
And we know what's going on with Cole.
Yeah, I mean, for the fact that kid couldn't play the last few weeks with that oblique. Now, he couldn't play, on Friday?
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, a week later, he's going to be ready to go?
Well, they said he could have played Saturday night.
He could have played,
But
yeah.
I almost thought he was done for the year. That's a tough injury to come back from.
Right.
We've seen that in
That's
baseball.
an odd injury for basketball.
Right.
Yeah, so nobody picked the number 2. Nobody picked Iowa State as being the toughest 2 seed. They're in UConn's bracket.
And I don't think Marquette gained. If he played and gets hurt, does it?
Yeah, they're not jumping to the 1, though.
Yeah, and then they lose to the 1 team overall, so it doesn't really hurt them. And I think that's sort of like the thought process, maybe in that scenario. I don't know.
He's fun to watch, though. He's one of my favorite college guys.
Well, if you're looking at what they did at the Big East overall, 3 teams in.
They got host.
Seton Hall, St. John's.
I was shocked.
For sure. I mean, is there a bias? I don't know, but something wasn't going.
They treated the Big East like it was the A-10, in my opinion. I like Seton Hall not getting in. I can't justify it. Now I know there's a million different metrics, but I watch enough college basketball that's a team I don't want to play in the tournament.
Lost to Rutgers, hurt them. I read that today.
So they say, yeah.
I mean, what the committee is deciding on, I don't know, but there's got to be at least 4 teams from that league getting in there, I think. I mean, Big East was really good this year. I mean, maybe not great teams, but you got, 3 of the top 10.
Yeah, they were saying that like a DePaul, Georgetown,
Right.
like those kind of teams brought the league down. But I don't know, those middle of the road teams in the Big East, the Seton Hall, Providence, Nova, St. John's. And St. John's, they had the makings of a team that could win 2 games in the tournament. I think he had them playing at a high level. I know when they got on that winning streak, they weren't playing the upper echelon of the league, Kevin Ross will tell you, UConn doesn't enjoy that matchup. St. John's plays UConn tougher than any team in that league.
And you're looking at 95-90 in the Big East
Yeah.
tournament. I mean, it's enough.
A lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
Wasn't that what Hurley said? I don't know what they're looking at. If St. John's is in the tournament, I don't know what they're looking at. I mean,
Here's the thing. 3 teams. Last year's national championship was won by UConn. They dominated almost every minute of play in the NCAA tournament. They finished second in that league. This year they finished first. I don't care what the other teams' records are. If you got to play UConn, Creighton, and Marquette, I don't care who the 4th and 5th best teams are. I don't care what their records are. I don't care what the metric says. It's kind of like baseball, though, these stupid measuring. Can we just look at what's happening? Or even slot teams in? Oh, well, this is the best conference in the country. Either Marquette or UConn is going to be in the final. Or one of them is going to be in the Elite 8, right? I mean,
And Creighton, too.
and Creighton, too. So I don't know what they're looking at.
I don't know. They really like the Mountain West, though. 6 teams? 6 teams?
I mean,
Come on. I know there was a lot of bid stealers with like NC State, and you guys can name some of the other conference champions that came out of nowhere. But obviously we have some bias toward the Big East, but I think we're also honest and realistic that I think it's a travesty. I really do.
We're all Big Ten fans, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but the fact that Michigan State got in at 19 and 14.
Yeah, I'm sick of them.
terrible.
I'm sick of them.
If you watch UConn play in the Big East every night, it is an unbelievable. You don't know if they're going to win, and they're the best team in the country. I mean, so that's enough to.
Yeah, they're wars.
Wars every
Weren't they
night.
losing to Georgetown in the second half?
They were losing
Weren't
to
they?
Xavier it was either 2 or tied at half. I mean, they killed them in the second half, but and all these teams are going to get better. These are legitimate coaches. You know, DePaul has a legitimate coach
You've
now.
been saying this for a year. The Big East is back.
It's definitely back. There's no doubt about it.
We even got Patino back.
The fact that he didn't get in.
Wait until next year, boys, when he's
It's
going to bring
coming.
he's going to
It's
bring in
coming.
about 8 new guys because he's got that big
They
time
can all
donor.
move laterally, too.
Huh?
They can all move laterally.
What do we all think about Kansas as a 4 seed with Dickinson? He's at his back.
McCullough's still hurt.
Dislocated, right? Dislocated his shoulder, didn't he?
Who, Dickinson?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said Self said he's definitely playing. He said he practiced in full the last 2 days.
If he doesn't play, I'll be happy about that because I never want to see that guy play again.
Me either.
He's annoying. Give me Matt Garza or Luca Garza. What was his name for Iowa?
Garza.
Luca,
Whatever, man. That guy's annoying, Dickinson. He
commish.
thinks way too highly of himself.
You got a dark horse going to the 8 or the 16? Anything crazy?
Not a dark horse, but one team I love is Tennessee. I've watched them a lot.
Kid Connect.
Oh,
Yeah.
unbelievable! It comes over from South Dakota. He came in North
Something
Dakota.
like that,
So, they're fun to watch, and he's tough.
Yeah.
He can take over a game. He's the guy who scares me the most in the tournament.
What about you, Don Father? You got a
I
wild
like
one?
Washington State.
Washington State?
Yeah, they beat Arizona twice. I mean, if you beat Arizona twice, you're doing something good. You're beating them at Arizona. They hit the boards hard. They push the pace. I mean,
At
it's
what
not gonna
level?
be easy.
At what level?
Like anything like in your 16 or 8 that's kind of just way out there.
I think they're going to beat Iowa State in the second round.
Okay.
I don't have a dark horse. I mean, but there's not a great team besides UConn, Purdue, Arizona. The number 1 seeds. Who's great after that? Who's a team that you can? Is there any dark horses out
Yeah,
there?
but if people were saying that last year, no one was saying UConn was great. They just played great. This is the time of the year, and every one of these coaches
Yeah,
now
but-
with a 6-month season, they're ready for right now.
Yeah, but you're watching game this year. Is anyone you saw that you're like, wow, this is a team that could? That's why I like Tennessee. I like Connect, and I like what they're doing. But I don't know. Like
I love Tennessee.
I love Tennessee too.
Crocker, what do you think? You got a dark horse?
I agree with Tennessee. I like how they get after it on D. I see Illinois going quite a ways. I actually have them in the final game, much to the chagrin of UConn fans. I know.
Oh, you got Illinois going to the finals?
I do.
Wow.
I do. But I'm not a huge fan of the team. Saw them in person last year. Didn't like the atmosphere. Didn't like their fans. Didn't like much about them, to be honest with you. But I got them going there this year.
Great backcourt, whether you like those guys or not. Great backcourt.
I'm going to tell you what, these guys
Yeah,
are crazy.
big guys.
Their dark horses are 2 and 3 seeds. Jesus Christmas.
Bob, you got something crazy?
Yeah, in the Sweet 16, I think we're going to get an all-Connecticut matchup. I
bet.
think Yale gets it done in the first game.
Get out
Oh
of here.
do.
my god!
No, East Catholic's own. Matt Knowling, who I think won a Class S state championship at one point.
Was he playing Mustafa in the Class
Yeah,
S?
right. No
Jeez.
kidding. And I kind of like Nevada
Steve Alford.
making a little run. Outside of that, I'm kind of chalk. I think NC State gets to a big one against Marquette. Team's hot. I mean, what are you going to do? The team's hot.
I got Boise going to the 16. And this is not a dark horse, but I got Kentucky going to the Final Four only because I like watching good offensive basketball. And they got a young team, and they can all shoot and put the ball in the basket. So, selfishly, I just want to see them continue, and I'm not a Calipari or a Kentucky guy. I just like a team that plays good offense.
And none of us also like Houston, right?
I
was
haven't
just
seen
gonna ask
enough
about
of
Houston.
them. I don't know.
They always get to the 16, and
No, I
it's
hate
like,
him. I hate him for one reason, and I hate him.
Calvin Sampson, because he put
Well.
IU in the ditch for 20 years.
Well, what he did to the rut that night.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'd like to not remember.
Obviously, there's going to be upsets, but I don't see a team that's like a 8 or a 9 getting too far. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't see one.
Let me ask you this: who picked what in the Wisconsin? James Madison.
I got James Madison. I got James Madison winning 2 games.
I got Dookie taking him down in the second round, but I think Wisconsin stinks.
Yeah, I mean they caught a little bit of fire over the weekend, but I would not bet on Wisconsin's style on offense to beat an athletic team.
I thought that was interesting. I thought it'd be split. 5-12 usually aren't split that much, but
Well, don't forget, before the Huskies went crazy, I mean, you got, St. Peter's was one of the most unbelievable stories. And what was it last year? Was it FAU?
Fairleigh Dickinson
yeah.
Oh,
Florida
FDU.
Atlantic.
and FAU. San
mean-
Diego State was kind of
And
wild card, right?
guess whose bracket they're in?
Yeah, both of them.
Jesus.
So outside of UConn, we're all UConn fans here, but we also follow the Big Ten pretty closely. What are your guys' thoughts on how far Purdue's going to go? I'm just not a huge fan of them. They're a 1 seed. I don't know. I've had enough of Edie. It seems like he's been there for 25 years. But
Been there
where
for
you
5.
got him? Where you got him falling, or do you have him falling?
I got him going to the finals only because that's the game I want to see. I want to see the big guy from Bristol, Connecticut going against Edie. I want to see that matchup selfishly. But I don't think Purdue's going to get there.
Elite 8 at the most, I think.
Don Father?
I agree. Elite 8 is where I have them losing. I think no farther.
Creighton's in that region.
Yeah, I have Kansas beating them.
You got Kansas, yeah.
Hold on. I can't. What? So who are they? Where are they? What are they in?
Stay hot.
Midwest. Oh, TCU in the second game? Is that right?
Yes.
You could have just filled out a sheet like everybody else
No, I
except
tried to
looking
get
at
out-
your phone.
I tried to use the technology. It didn't. It failed me.
FAU favored over Northwestern.
I got it now. I got it. And I don't.
We're on to the next round, anyways.
Is that last year's bracket?
No, man.
We're already on to baseball.
Okay. Transfer portal. Nothing huge today. A couple schools, guys jumping in. Within these next 2 or 3 weeks, as exciting as it's going to be to whittle that down the college season to, 16, 8, and 4 teams. There is going to be some names in there. Boy, somebody was saying to me not too long ago that it looks like 8 out of 10 kids will enter that portal. I repeat, 8 out of 10.
That seems a little high.
You got to remember though, a lot. It's the kids, yes. It's the coaches as well that are telling the kids that they're not coming back to their program, and a lot of people forget that.
But on
8 out of 10.
On every team, 8 out of 10. That's 80% of the teams across the country.
Correct.
Wow.
Listen, it's the way of the world.
It's a new way.
It is.
What you can do in the portal is going to decide your season.
I looked at some of those names today, and I'm not trying to make light of these kids. They could do what they want. There's kids in the portal that are getting 1 point a game. They're just throwing their name in there. Ian, I know Don Father, Crocker, you guys all agree because we talked about it before the recording. Can we wait until after the finals before you can open up that portal?
Yeah, that's kind of like A-Rod during the World Series saying he wants to be traded or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
shut up, dude. No, these are kids, man. These are 18, 19-year-old kids. We can't wait. Come on, man. And then they could team up and see where they're all going to go together. I mean, that's where we're heading.
And we got 3 from Rutgers today.
I don't want to talk
They're
about
starting
one.
point guard.
Nah, next year it won't be.
The portals become as important as your recruiting on the road. You know, I mean, it's like these are where you're going to get the experienced guys, good guys who fit your program, who fits your culture. I mean,
And these poor coaches got to recruit the kids that want to stay there, and then maybe
Right.
not recruit the other ones so much.
I think it's these poor seniors in high school looking to play somewhere that
There's not a lot
That's
of
over.
opportunity for those
That's
kids
over.
anymore.
That's over. By the way, I got Purdue bowing out to Tennessee in the
that's what we
Elite
like
Eight.
Tennessee.
You know,
Not to get away from the big dance. And NIT, a lot of these teams are already saying they're not going. Some teams are saying if they accepted the bid, they might only have 5 kids on the team by that point.
Right.
You think the NIT is
Come
dead?
on.
You think the NIT is dead?
It's getting there.
Pitt
for
already
sure.
said they're not going. Oklahoma's not going. St. John's isn't going. And that's just today.
That's in St. John's backyard.
That's like it's like a ripple effect. That's what's going to happen to all of basketball. I think in 5 years we're going to see totally different teams and totally different, tournament, and it's
it's
just
because the tournament's going to be 90-something teams.
all right,
At that point.
I got one for you then.
Silly.
Okay, NCAA tournament. It's the thing, March Madness. Who sponsors it? The NCAA, right? Who is losing a lot of clout every day based on NIL and whatever else? Power 5 conference realignment.
Yeah.
NCAA. Imagine if the NIT, like how long ago, Lottie? 60 years ago?
It was the
Becomes
tournament.
the tournament. And you got to get invited and accept the invite instead of going on channel whatever and saying, here's who you're playing. NCAA is the best. No. NIT has invited you to play here in the National Invitational Tournament. I think that'd be a heck of a story.
Well, are you saying because there's only going to be 5 power conferences and about 80 teams eligible for the big dance?
So
everybody else.
my point being, as the bowl games have lost steam, does the tournament, the greatest dance of all time, lose some steam? And you got to be invited to something better that they create? Maybe the NIT? It used to be the national
was.
champion.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting.
I'm sick of the NCAA. I never thought I'd get to that point. We have a friend who's been adamant about it, but I am sick and tired of the NCAA just falling short and robbing universities and kids of money for a long time. And I still don't want to pay players, but they should have had the right to make their own money whenever they could in whatever job they could. You can't go to a basketball tournament, be an instructor, because you're playing on the team. Are you kidding me? You should be able to go to that tournament, and whoever's running the tournament will decide what they'll pay you. If it's $5,000, it's that. If it's $500, it's that. If it's lunch, it's that. But if you take lunch from that guy back under the old rules, you're breaking the rules. NCAA is a joke.
Well, that's why Jay Billis always says, let the school decide what they want to pay the kids. Every school has a choice. Shouldn't be up to the NCAA or this, that, or the states.
Well, the NCAA doesn't have any control over
No,
it.
he wants to just completely put the power in the hands of each independent university and let them do whatever they want with their athletics. He's been banging that drum for a while.
Like to bang Jay Billis the top of his head with a drum to the freaking guy.
But we need a
He writes one article. Now I got to listen to this guy.
we need
Come
a
on.
commissioner of
Shut
college basketball. You need a commissioner for college
I
basketball.
could apply,
I
but I don't
completely-
think
Yeah,
I
come in.
There you go.
Commish.
You're overqualified.
I probably.
Guys,
We love the sport, so we're going to watch and not think about all the other crap, but it sucks.
But I want
Yeah,
to
but-
say this. I want to say this. This year, I've watched less college basketball games than I've ever watched in my life because it's not the interest it used to be. Duke, Carolina, I didn't watch one of those games this
You
year.
don't even know the guys.
No.
might be the first time I didn't watch one
Right.
this year.
You can remember
Used to
Big
set my
Monday,
clock to
right?
it.
Big Monday, you would, I'm going to watch this game and this game, and
Big
I'll go
East
late. I'm
ACC.
going to be up late because this is on. It's not the same as it was.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
know
with
what
you.
it is.
I'm with you.
But why is that? Is it the
I just don't. I think the rivalries. I think there's kids that have going to 3 or 4 different schools. When we were growing up, Chris Mullen stayed at St. John's. Patrick Ewing stayed at Georgetown. Well, it's not happening. It's just, and it's not going to.
And if you left, you were a sensation
Yeah.
to leave early.
Remember, you had to.
Now the
it was
one and done
hardship.
culture.
It was hardship. Remember,
Yeah.
if your family is financially struggling, Those are the guys that went.
Yeah, you went
Isaiah
hardship.
Thomas at Indiana. That's why he went. Hardship.
I think
family.
Ray Allen was still hardship, to be honest with you. Like, didn't they call it that at that point still?
I'm not sure.
But listen, I love Stephen Castle. Automatic NBA guy after 1 year.
I don't see it.
I don't see it, but everyone else sees it, right?
You look at all those mock drafts. He's top 15
Right.
in everyone.
But
But
looking at
Mike,
them all-
there's top 15 guys that don't play in the league, and right. Well, of course, they'll get money if he's top 14. But like, no, first round's guaranteed, right? Even if you end up in a G League, or do you get a
I
roster
don't want
spot?
to. I don't want to speak when I'm not. And
Signing bonus.
But he's an automatic first round, first year, 1 year guy and out. I don't see it. I mean, I think he's really good, but he could use 1 or 2 more years of college. I think.
Well, that's the old way of thinking, and like, I want to get back to what you said. Why is it different? Like, there's times when all of us sitting here, we're like, we loved, baseball. We loved NBA basketball when we were younger. Some of you guys have peeled off before I did. I'm still kind of into it. But, like, we loved it, right? And what ruined it? The money. The protection of players, the overpaying of players, the teams that could stock up before the rules, and the luxuries. So, like, what's changed in college? That. Now it's the Old West, like baseball was when the Yankees could pay whoever they wanted, and the Dodgers and the Orioles were playing rotisserie baseball back then, signing everybody. And, like, what did it do to fans? It chased them away. Then you get a couple strikes. Wait till college players go on strike one
Right.
year, man. I'm telling you, man, that's where we're heading. We're not getting paid enough.
didn't Dartmouth unionize?
They just-
Right.
But I think partly is the idea that these guys are going to be NBA players, and they're being told that the money is there, and that if they they could get hurt, they could lose the money playing in college. They could you lose that time to prepare to play for the professional game from the college game, and I think that's some of the reasons why these guys go one. Because they're it's the money, 100%, but it's also why I think they're being pushed to do it too.
But, Kevin, here's the thing. Like, there's now a system, which I don't agree with, but it allows you to still make the money while you're there developing. Right. Like, back then, you used to have to roll the dice and develop. And I think of, like, a Brandon Roy's career, man. He probably played 4 years at, was it Washington? Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the NBA, and he's spectacular, dude. Like, I'm not saying he's Steph Curry. Like, there's obviously only one of them dudes. But, like, this guy was good.
Yeah,
Like, he was at least on this, and going in the same direction as a Dwayne Wade to me. I don't know. But, like, he gets hurt, and his career was ruined, right? Now he could stay in college. What would a guy like Brandon Roy make at a college university right now?
Yeah.
More than $1 million.
Definitely a couple $1 million. Indiana had the guy that was making a couple $1 million.
Trace Jackson Davis,
Yeah.
who could not play basketball like that guy could.
Well, Hassan Diarra for UConn, they said to him he needed extra tickets because they're playing in New York, and they said, "How are you paying for him?" He goes, "My NIL money." Where's that coming from? I don't know. Who's paying him? I love him. 6th man of the year, great player, unbelievable contribution to the team this year. But where's that money come from? I have no idea.
Well,
that guy's been
They
paid.
have a collective, so
Yeah.
they disperse it the way
But,
they
but
want
beyond
to.
the collective, you're allowed to go out and get whatever else you want. Remember, our guest here said, I got to work on my off days sometimes.
I saw him
Yeah.
in 4 commercials today. The big boy.
I didn't see any of them. I got to see.
I saw him
I
on the
saw him
billboard
all.
going to Hartford today. I saw that.
I'd like to see him in 6 more games. I'll tell you that.
I think
You
we
will.
Hey,
You
how
will.
about the
Hope so.
people trying to tell him where to go? High school and college.
Yeah. It's a
Think
testament.
maybe he just trusted the process a little bit.
But
I think he did all right.
I think we're going to see less and less of that now because the way things are changing. But it's an unbelievable. I mean, I was looking. My son's asked me who are the best players from Connecticut that ever played in the NBA. He may be in 5 years the best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, talking.
We got Calvin and Nat.
Yeah,
We
Calvin.
got Ray. No, Ray's not Connecticut.
Michael Adams was pretty good for a while.
Camby had a nice career.
Camby, yep.
Charles Smith,
Drummond,
Vin Baker?
Drummond,
Vin
Baker.
Vin.
Think about it. I mean,
Scotty Brown.
Oh,
Camby,
champion.
Marcus
NBA
Camby.
champion. Scotty, NBA champion. Lamar, does Lamar count?
like, he doesn't know.
He was here for 1 year.
I can't believe he's still here now.
I see him getting his hair cut in Somethington.
He got
Yeah.
hair?
He gets his haircut in Southington, Connecticut. Marcus came.
I didn't think he had hair.
You're talking about Cammy or
No,
Lamar?
Lamar Odom.
Looking.
Yeah.
Ernie D. Boys.
Jerry D.
Jerry D. that's
Ernie
right.
D.
Why did I say Ernie D?
Providence. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Ernie.
All right. Anyway, what an episode. Eddie Rapp tournament coming up. It's got to be all Huskies. Everybody throw your national champ out there. Like I did a bracket. I'm going Huskies. I'm just going. But my bracket, for like playing the odds purposes, I got the Flying Illini. Who you got, Lottie?
I got UConn. I'm sorry. Scratch.
Flying around Illinois here. Hate the team, hate the school, hate everything about it. But I took them.
Me too.
Carolina.
Come on, man.
UConn, Tennessee, in the national championship. Huskies win back-to-back for the first time since Florida.
And we played Tennessee after our first national championship. Remember?
We did.
With Elamine and them, we lost. Kevin?
Big question. I don't know. You got it.
Oh, here we go. He took the Central Connecticut Blue Devils, his alma mater.
We're going.
All right, thanks everybody. Eddie Rapp, great job. Angry Jay, you missed out. Later.